Jacob's story is an epic journey of faith, deception, and redemption that echoes through the ages. In a world where cunning often triumphs over integrity, Jacob's life confronts us with uncomfortable truths about human nature and the divine plan. Have you ever wondered how God can use imperfect people to fulfill His purposes? Get ready for a narrative that will challenge your notions of justice and mercy as we explore the surprising origin of a chosen nation. Genesis 25:21 introduces us to a couple in distress. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. In ancient times, barrenness was seen as a curse, and Rebekah carried that burden for 20 years. Imagine the despair that must have consumed the hearts of this couple, heirs to the promise made to Abraham, yet unable to conceive a child. God's answer to Isaac's prayer didn't come without complications. Genesis 25:22-23 reveals the babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." Rebekah's pregnancy was a foreshadowing of the conflict that would mark not only the lives of her sons, but entire nations. The divine prophecy overturned the natural order of things. The older would serve the younger. From the womb, God was setting a pattern that would challenge human conventions. Genesis 25:24-26 narrates the dramatic birth. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The contrast between the twins was evident from birth. Esau, the firstborn, was red and hairy, characteristics that foreshadowed his rugged and impulsive nature. Jacob, on the other hand, was born clutching his brother's heel, a gesture prophetic of his cunning and determined personality. As the boys grew, their differences became more pronounced. Genesis 25:27-28 describes, "The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was content to stay at home among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Esau became a man of the field, skilled in hunting, embodying the masculine ideal of the time. In contrast, Jacob was quiet and domestic, preferring the life of the home. This division of personalities was reflected in their parents' preferences. Isaac favored Esau, while Rebekah preferred Jacob. Parental favoritism sowed the seeds of discord that would later flourish, offering a timeless lesson about the dangers of treating children unequally. The turning point in the brothers' youth came with a seemingly trivial incident that had profound consequences. Genesis 25:29-34 recounts, "Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, 'Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished.' That is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, 'First, sell me your birthright.' 'Look, I am about to die,' Esau said. 'What good is the birthright to me?' But Jacob said, 'Swear to me first.' So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. This episode reveals much about the character of both brothers. Esau, impulsive and driven by his immediate appetites, was willing to trade his birthright, a position of great honor and responsibility in patriarchal society, for a meal. His exaggerated claim of being about to die shows his tendency toward hyperbole and instant gratification. Jacob, on the other hand, displayed calculated shrewdness. He saw an opportunity and seized it, manipulating his brother's weakness for his own gain. While his actions may seem questionable by modern standards, they reveal a sharp understanding of the value of the birthright and a willingness to do whatever it took to obtain it. The exchange of the birthright for a meal became a powerful symbol of Esau's recklessness and Jacob's opportunistic nature. The biblical text does not offer explicit moral judgment on Jacob's actions at this moment, but the subsequent narrative will show how this decision shaped the destinies of both brothers and their descendants. The implications of this act were profound. The birthright was not merely a matter of material inheritance, it carried spiritual blessings and the responsibility to lead the family. By despising his birthright, Esau demonstrated a lack of foresight and appreciation for the divine promises made to his ancestors. For Jacob, acquiring the birthright was only the first step in his journey to becoming the heir of God's promises. Though his methods were questionable, his determination to secure divine blessings would be a recurring theme in his life. This episode sets the stage for the future events in Jacob's life. His cunning and determination would lead him to great heights, but also place him in situations of conflict and danger. Jacob's story reminds us that God can use even our flaws and imperfections to fulfill his greater purposes. Genesis 27:1-4 takes us to a crucial moment in Isaac's life. When Isaac was old and almost blind, he called for his older son Esau and said, "My son." "Yes, father," he answered. Isaac said, "I am old and do not know the day of my death. Now take your weapons, your bow and your quiver, and go out to the field to hunt game for me. Prepare for me the delicious food I love, and bring it to me to eat, so that I may bless you before I die." Isaac's old age and blindness created a scene of urgency and vulnerability. Aware of his mortality, he wanted to fulfill his paternal duty to bless his firstborn before leaving this world. The blessing was not merely a formality, it was a prophetic and powerful act that would determine the destiny of the blessed and his descendants. Isaac's plan to bless Esau reveals his continued preference for the older son, despite the sale of the birthright years earlier. Perhaps Isaac was unaware of the agreement between the brothers or considered it invalid. Regardless, his intention to bless Esau triggered a series of events that would forever change the course of the family's history. Genesis 27:5-10 introduces Rebekah's strategy to favor Jacob. Now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. So when Esau went to the field to hunt for game, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "I heard your father say to your brother Esau, 'Bring me game and prepare me the delicious food to eat, so that I may bless you in the presence of the Lord before I die. Now, my son, listen to me as I command you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 choice young goats, so that I can prepare some delicious food for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father to eat, so he may bless you before he dies.'" Rebekah's plan was bold and risky. She not only interfered with her husband's will, but also placed her favorite son in a dangerous position. Her actions reflect a complex mix of motives: the desire to see God's prophecy fulfilled that the older will serve the younger, her preference for Jacob, and possibly her belief that Jacob was more suited to lead the family. The preparation of the stew was just the first step. Genesis 27:11-17 details Jacob's elaborate disguise. But Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, "But my brother Esau is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. What if my father touches me? I would appear to be tricking him and bring down a curse on myself rather than a blessing." His mother said to him, "My son, let the curse fall on me. Just do what I say. Go and get them for me." So he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and she prepared the delicious food, the kind his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of Esau, her older son, which she had at home, and put them on her younger son Jacob. She also covered his hands and the smooth part of his neck with the goat skins. Then she handed to her son Jacob the delicious food and the bread she had made. This passage reveals Jacob's initial hesitation, not from moral principles, but from fear of being caught. Rebekah's response, taking responsibility for any curse, demonstrates her determination to see her plan realized. The elaborate disguise, using Esau's clothes and goat skins, shows how far they were willing to go to deceive Isaac. Jacob's encounter with Isaac is narrated in Genesis 27:18-29 with palpable tension. Jacob went to his father and said, "My father." "Yes, who are you, my son?" Isaac asked. Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game, so that you may bless me." Isaac asked his son, "How did you find it so quickly, my son?" "The Lord your God gave me success," he replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Come near so I can touch you, my son, to know whether you really are my son Esau or not." The scene is filled with suspense. Jacob repeatedly lies, even invoking God's name to lend credibility to his story. Isaac, suspicious, insists on touching his son. Genesis 27:22-23 continues, "Jacob went close to his father Isaac, who touched him and said, 'The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau.' He did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau, so he blessed him." The test of touch reveals Isaac's internal conflict. His senses are at odds. Touch says it's Esau, but the voice is Jacob's. Yet, trusting his sense of touch more than his hearing, Isaac proceeds with the blessing. The blessing given to Jacob, recorded in Genesis 27:27-29, is powerful and comprehensive. He smelled the smell of his clothes and blessed him, saying, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you of heaven's dew and of earth's richness, an abundance of grain and new wine. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you." This blessing, rich in imagery and promises, encompasses material prosperity, political dominion, and a special spiritual status. Ironically, the blessing includes dominion over his brothers, echoing the prophecy given before the twins were born. Esau's return and the discovery of the deception are narrated with dramatic intensity in Genesis 27:30-35. After Isaac finished blessing him, and Jacob had scarcely left his father's presence, his brother Esau came in from hunting. He too prepared some delicious food and brought it to his father. Then he said to him, "My father, sit up and eat some of my game so that you may bless me." His father Isaac asked him, "Who are you?" "I am Esau, your firstborn," he answered. Isaac trembled violently and said, "Who was it then that hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it just before you came, and I blessed him, and indeed he will be blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me, me too, my father." But he said, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." Isaac's reaction, trembling violently, reveals the shock and horror of the discovery. His declaration, "And indeed he will be blessed," indicates his understanding that the blessing, once spoken, could not be revoked. It was a prophetic word, not merely a paternal wish. Esau's despair is palpable. Genesis 27:36-38 captures his anguish. Esau said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? This is the second time he has taken advantage of me. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." Then he asked, "Haven't you reserved any blessing for me?" Isaac answered Esau, "I have made him lord over you and have made all his relatives his servants, and I have sustained him with grain and new wine. So what can I possibly do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Then Esau wept aloud. Esau's pain is deep, but it also reveals his previous lack of understanding about the value of the birthright. Only now does he fully grasp what he has lost. His plea for a blessing, any blessing, is touching. Isaac offers Esau a secondary blessing in Genesis 27:39-40. His father Isaac answered him, "Your dwelling will be away from the earth's richness, away from the dew of heaven above. You will live by the sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will throw his yoke from off your neck." This blessing, in stark contrast to Jacob's, foretells a life of struggle for Esau and his descendants. However, it also includes a promise of eventual liberation from Jacob's rule. Esau's threat of revenge is immediate and serious. Genesis 27:41 reports, Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. He said to himself, "The days of mourning for my father are near, then I will kill my brother Jacob." This plan for murder reveals the depth of Esau's anger and the imminent danger to Jacob. The situation demands swift action. Genesis 27:42-45 outlines Rebekah's plan for Jacob's escape. When Rebekah was told what her older son Esau had said, she sent for her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Esau is planning to kill you. Now then, my son, do what I say. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him for a while until your brother's fury subsides. When your brother is no longer angry and forgets what you did to him, I'll send word for you to come back from there. Why should I lose both of you in one day?" Rebekah's plan demonstrates her ongoing cunning. She not only protects Jacob from Esau's immediate wrath, but also ensures the continuity of the promised lineage. Her last statement suggests she fears not only for Jacob's life, but also for the consequences Esau would face if he killed his brother. Jacob's departure for Haran, narrated in Genesis 28:1-5, marks the beginning of a new chapter in his life. Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him. Then he commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go at once to Paddan Aram, to the house of your mother's father Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples. May he give you and your descendants the blessing given to Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now reside as a foreigner, the land God gave to Abraham." Then Isaac sent Jacob on his way, and he went to Paddan Aram, to Laban son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, who was the mother of Jacob and Esau. This passage reveals that Isaac, despite the deception, accepts God's will and blesses Jacob again, this time knowingly. He also gives specific instructions about marriage, emphasizing the importance of maintaining the purity of the family line. Thus, Jacob departs, leaving behind a divided family and an enraged brother. His journey to Haran is not just a physical escape, but the beginning of a spiritual transformation. The events that follow will shape his character and prepare him to become Israel, the father of the 12 tribes. The story of Jacob's deception and flight is a powerful reminder of how human actions, even those motivated by ambition or fear, can be used by God to fulfill his greater purposes. It also illustrates the lasting consequences of our choices and the complexity of family relationships. Genesis 28:10-11 marks the beginning of Jacob's journey toward Haran. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. Imagine Jacob, alone for the first time in his life, fleeing from home, sleeping out in the open with only a stone for a pillow. It is at this moment of vulnerability that God chooses to reveal himself to Jacob in an extraordinary way. Genesis 28:12-15 describes Jacob's famous dream. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. This vision of the stairway to heaven is a powerful revelation of the connection between heaven and earth, and of God's constant presence in Jacob's life. The divine promise reaffirms the blessings given to Abraham and Isaac, now extended directly to Jacob. Jacob's response, recorded in Genesis 28:16-22, reveals a profound spiritual transformation. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. He was afraid and said, How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, If God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear so that I return safely to my father's household, then the Lord will be my God, and this stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you give me, I will give you 1/10. This vow marks the beginning of a personal relationship between Jacob and God. For the first time, we see Jacob acknowledging God not only as the God of his fathers, but as his own God. Jacob's arrival in Haran is narrated in Genesis 29:1-12, culminating in his encounter with Rachel at the well. Then Jacob continued his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the field, with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it, because the flocks drank from that well. A large stone covered the mouth of the well. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My brothers, where are you from?" "We are from Haran," they replied. He asked them, "Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson?" "Yes, we know him," they answered. Then Jacob asked, "Is he well?" "Yes, he is," they said, "and here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." "Look," Jacob said, "the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to graze." "We can't," they replied, "until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the well's mouth. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. As soon as Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the well's mouth and watered his uncle Laban's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. He told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and that he was the son of Rebekah. She ran and told her father. This encounter at the well echoes similar meetings in his family history, such as Abraham's servant finding Rebekah. Jacob's action of single-handedly rolling away the heavy stone from the well demonstrates his physical strength and his desire to impress Rachel. The reunion with Laban's family is warm, as described in Genesis 29:13-14. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home. And there Jacob told him all these things. Then Laban said to him, "You are my own flesh and blood. However, Laban's initial hospitality quickly turns into a work agreement, as we see in Genesis 29:15-20. Laban said to Jacob, "Because you are a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel had a lovely figure and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, "I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. This agreement reveals both Jacob's deep love for Rachel and Laban's calculating nature. The 7 years of labor are an ironic inversion of Jacob's situation. He, who deceived his father and brother, now works faithfully for 7 years. The deceptive marriage is narrated in Genesis 29:21-25. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to lie with her." So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob, and Jacob lay with her. Laban gave his servant Zilpah to his daughter as her attendant. When morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" The irony of this situation cannot be overlooked. Jacob, who deceived his blind father, is now deceived in the darkness of his wedding night. Jacob's question, "Why have you deceived me?" echoes the question that Esau must have asked him years before. Laban's response and the second agreement are described in Genesis 29:26-30. Laban replied, "It is not our custom to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Finish this daughter's bridal week. Then we will give you the younger one in return for another 7 years of work." And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his servant Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her attendant. Jacob lay with Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than